I loved you in silence before your name ever reached my lips. In long, moon-drenched corridors of the palace, I whispered wishes into the velvet dark, not knowing they belonged to you. It was a kind of magic or madness, the way my heart searched for someone it had not yet met. They taught me diplomacy, posture, languages, duty, but never how to unlearn yearning. You were never part of the plan, and yet, somehow, you were written in the quietest corners of my story. I dreamed you into being long before your hand ever brushed mine. Even now, I wonder if love begins with meeting, or if it begins in the soul, hidden like a rose pressed between centuries of royal parchment. I carried you in my chest before I ever knew what it meant to carry someone. And now, as I look back, I feel the ache of loving you backward, through time, through silence, through memory. This isn't the fairy tale they told me at night. No glass slipper, no dance at midnight, only a heart too full of what might have been, and a girl who learned to smile with longing behind her eyes. You came like autumn sunlight, slipping between clouds, quiet, golden, and already fading. I knew from the first moment that something impossible had entered my world, something that didn't belong but somehow made everything more real. The air changed when you looked at me. People always speak of sparks, of fire, but you were gentler than that. You were a whisper in a crowded room, a glance across protocol and centuries of bloodlines. I memorized you the way a child memorizes stars. Slowly, night after night, afraid to blink and miss the shape of your soul. I spoke to you in silences. My father's advisors talked politics. My tutors drilled me in history. But you asked about the girl beneath the crown. You found her. You saw past the scepter and saw my trembling hands. How cruel is fate, that the one who sees you most clearly is the one you cannot keep. We walked through gardens as if we owned nothing and everything all at once. The world pausing just for us, leaves trembling above, petals falling like confessions neither of us could say aloud. They always said a princess must marry her country, must wear grace like armor and duty like a veil. But how do I tell them that your name lingers louder in my heart than the anthem they taught me to sing? I tried to be who they needed me to be, Spain's daughter, polished, perfect, poised, but I was yours in the quiet moments between the speeches. Do you remember that night in Seville, when the moon hung low and I nearly forgot to be royal? I almost reached for your hand, and in that second, I was not a future queen, I was just a girl, on fire, with a feeling no title could contain. Yet, I pulled back. I always had to. What would they have said if the crown princess had dared to love a boy who made her laugh like that, who made her feel like she belonged not to a nation, but to herself? You never asked me to choose. You knew I already had. You were gracious in the way people are when they know they cannot stay, when they know they are already becoming memory. It hurts in reverse, you know. Most people fall in love and then fall apart. But I began with the ache. I loved you first in absence, in all the places you could never be. I wrote letters I could never send, folded them into my diary like pressed flowers, fading, fragile, still beautiful. When they read my speeches, they hear diplomacy, but if you listened closely, you'd find you hiding in metaphors, in pauses, in words dipped in longing. You became part of my language, part of the way I breathe. Even the sea outside my window speaks your name, wave after wave, reminding me that everything real is fleeting. Sometimes I think I should have kissed you that night, not with lips, but with truth, with the bravery I was never allowed to have. But then what? What life would we have had? One of shadows, one where I would have had to deny you in public and love you only behind palace walls. I think loving you from afar, from behind protocol and portraits, may have been the kindest cruelty we could manage, but oh, how I wish we had been born ordinary. I look at my reflection now and wonder if you'd still recognize the girl behind the crown, the one who ran barefoot through royal gardens just to feel something real, the one who laughed too loudly when you read Neruda in your terrible accent, pretending not to know I was listening. I trace the lines of my own face and try to find the softness you used to bring out in me. The world wants a queen. They want poise, command, certainty, but you wanted me clumsy, unguarded, true, and I gave you that, even if only in moments. That was our rebellion, small, quiet acts of love in a world that demanded grand gestures of sacrifice. They tell me I will rule someday, that my name will be written in books, etched in marble, repeated in history, but none of that will ever compare to the story I keep hidden, the one about a boy and a girl who met in a garden and changed each other. They won't write that in the official records, but I will carry it in every decision I make, every time I choose compassion over command. That is your legacy in me. That is your crown. You were never mine to begin with, and perhaps that is why you've remained so vividly mine in memory. Love in reverse is like that. It rewrites the past, makes every glance into a prophecy, every smile into a chapter. I see you now in every almost, in every echo of what could have been. When I walk through state dinners and bow my head to foreign leaders, I hear your laughter tucked between the syllables of another language. When they ask me about alliances, I remember how your fingers brushed mine like an unspoken treaty. Love has rules in my world. It must be sanctioned, scrutinized, made noble by lineage. But ours was made sacred by silence. No contract, no coronation, just two hearts, brave in the quiet. I sometimes think we did it backward, loved like legends, but lived like ghosts. And yet, I wouldn't undo a second. Even the ache is precious. Even the ending. You gave me something more powerful than a kingdom. You gave me a reason to believe there's more to life than rule and ritual. You reminded me I was human, and that, more than any title, is worth remembering.